after the untimely and not fully understood death of Four Corners County Sheriff Byron Wilks. His personal journals were discovered, casting a dark shadow over his legacy. Penned in his own hand, the Wilks Journals, as they've come to be known, contain entries that chill the soul with their haunting details. These writings describe dark occurrences shrouded in unsettling calm and unexplained evil, leaving an indelible mark of dread on all who read them. One particular journal entry of Sheriff Wilks goes into detail about a night in September 1995, a night shift that should have been quiet and still, but instead turned into a wild ride of car chases and eerie encounters, defying logic and understanding. Now, let us take a slow walk down the dark, empty roads and find the red car. Two nights ago, like many nights before, I was stuck on the night shift. Four Corners County is quiet, too quiet sometimes, making those shifts feel longer than they are. I decided to stop at the old gas station off Route 81. I needed a drink and a snack to keep myself awake through the early hours. As I pulled up, I noticed a group of young girls gathered around a red Pontiac Grand Am. They were laughing and smiling, a sight that momentarily brightened my otherwise monotonous night. They seemed friendly, each offering a smile as I walked past them. Little did I know, these smiles would be etched in my memory for a long time to come. 2 hours after leaving the gas station, Cora in dispatch radioed me about a red, two-door 1985 Pontiac Grand Am. The caller reported seeing it abandoned on the side of the road, engine running, lights on, passenger door open, but no sign of occupants. Immediately, I recalled the group of girls at the gas station. I had a gut feeling it was the same car. I quickly headed in the direction dispatch indicated, the dark county road stretching out before me. I was expecting a flat or a quick stop in the bushes, but as I approached the location, my heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and unease. The narrow, unlit road seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness. Suddenly, my headlights caught the reflective gleam of a car's taillights. It was the red Grand Am, parked haphazardly on the grassy shoulder. I slowed down, peering through my windshield, trying to discern any movement inside the vehicle. Without warning, the Grand Am's engine roared to life, and the car peeled away from the shoulder, tires screeching against the asphalt. Instinctively, I hit the gas, my patrol car surging forward in pursuit. The night air rushed past my open window, carrying the scent of freshly cut hay and damp earth. The sound of my siren pierced the silence, a stark contrast to the tranquil night. I stayed a few car lengths behind, my eyes locked on the vehicle ahead. Inside, I could see the silhouettes of four heads. The strange part was, none of them moved. They sat eerily still, all facing forward. A chill ran down my spine. I tried radioing in the license plate, but dispatch wasn't responding. Cora, our night dispatcher, was probably taking one of her frequent coffee breaks. I quickly scribbled the license plate number down on my left hand, a habit I had gotten when working in the big city. As we sped down the winding roads, the Grand Am's taillights swayed left and right, casting eerie red glows on the surrounding trees. The car swerved around a sharp bend, its tires kicking up dust and gravel. I followed closely, my grip on the steering wheel tightening with each turn. The road ahead was a labyrinth of narrow lanes and sharp corners, but I knew these paths like the back of my hand. I kept thinking to myself that this was not the driving capabilities of a young female. Suddenly, the Grand Am veered onto a dirt road, the abrupt change in terrain causing a cloud of dust to rise behind it. I hesitated for a moment, then followed, my patrol car jostling over the uneven surface. The dust made it hard to see, but I kept my focus on the dim red glow ahead. My spotlight flicked on, cutting through the dust and darkness, illuminating the path before me. The chase continued, my adrenaline pumping with each passing second. We sped past rows of towering cornfields, their stalks swaying ominously in the wind. The Grand Am made another sharp turn, nearly losing control as it did. I swerved to follow, the tires of my patrol car skidding briefly before regaining traction. The vehicle ahead seemed to taunt me, always just out of reach, yet never pulling away entirely. As the minutes dragged on, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was terribly wrong. The four heads in the car remained still, never turning to look at me, never reacting to the siren or the spotlight. It was as if they were frozen in time, trapped in some bizarre tableau. Then, in the back seat, a fifth head raised from the darkness. Sitting directly in the middle of the back seat, dead center. It appeared to be a male figure with broad shoulders and wearing a baseball cap. My heart and breathing stopped. The chase seemed to stretch on forever, a relentless game of cat and mouse through the darkened countryside. My mind raced with questions. Why are they running? What had happened to the girls I had seen earlier? Who is this fifth person? Each question only added to my sense of urgency. Just as I thought I had them, the Grand Am made a sharp right turn onto a narrow, unmarked road. The sudden maneuver caught me off guard. I slammed on the brakes, but the momentum carried my patrol car past the intersection. The tires screeched as I fought to regain control, the vehicle skidding on the loose gravel at the road's edge. Frustration mounted as I pulled a hurried U-turn, my headlights sweeping across the darkened landscape. I accelerated back towards the intersection, my eyes scanning the area for any sign of the Grand Am. It was as if the car had vanished into thin air. My heart raced as I strained to see through the shadows, the beam of my spotlight flickering over the trees and bushes, lining the road to my right and corn to my left. I slowed down, the sense of urgency replaced by a gnawing anxiety. Something felt off. There was no way they could have outrun me so quickly. As I drove back the way I came, I noticed a set of black skid marks veering off the main road and onto a dirt path. It was barely visible in the dim light, a subtle hint that something had indeed turned off here. I turned onto the dirt farm road, my patrol car creeping forward. The rough terrain jostled the vehicle, my headlights casting eerie shadows on the dense cornfields flanking the road. The sense of familiarity was unsettling. Every dirt path in this county looked the same, yet something about this one felt different, almost foreboding. I kept trying to reach Cora on the radio, my voice strained with urgency. Replies were broken and distorted, snippets of information barely making it through the static. License plate. Incident. 11. Her words made little sense, only adding to the growing tension. The dirt road curved to the right, leading my headlights to illuminate a small, battered barn tucked away behind some trees. The barn looked like something out of a nightmare. Its wooden structure was weathered and decayed, the roof sagging under the weight of years of neglect. The once red paint was now a peeling, ghostly white, revealing the raw wood beneath. Vines and weeds crawled up the sides, giving the impression that nature was slowly reclaiming the building. Broken windows stared out like empty eye sockets, adding to the eerie atmosphere. I parked my patrol car and stepped out, the crunch of gravel under my boots sounding unnaturally loud in the stillness. The only other noise was the low hum of my car engine and the distant rustle of corn stalks in the wind. I approached the barn cautiously, my flashlight cutting through the thick darkness. The beam illuminated the ground in front of me, revealing a patchwork of weeds, discarded tools, and the occasional small animals skittering away. As I neared the barn door, I noticed it was hanging off its hinges, swaying slightly in the breeze. The wood was splintered and cracked, each creak and groan seeming to amplify the tension in the air. I reached out and pushed the door open, the hinges protesting loudly. Inside, the barn was a cavern of shadows, the flashlight's beam barely piercing the gloom. Just as I was about to step inside, the unmistakable roar of an engine shattered the silence. I spun around, my flashlight catching the Grand Am as it burst from behind the trees, its headlights blazing. The car shot down the dirt road, kicking up a cloud of dust and rocks in its wake. I rushed back to my cruiser, adrenaline surging through my veins as I started the engine and gave chase once more. We barreled back onto the blacktop road, the tires of my patrol car screeching as they hit the smooth surface and pulling hard to the right. The Grand Am was ahead of me, its taillights glowing like sinister eyes in the darkness. I floored the accelerator, the engine roaring in response. The speedometer climbed rapidly as we raced through the night, the fields and trees on either side of the road becoming a blur. My spotlight was fixed on the car ahead, but something was off. The rear window, once filled with the silhouettes of 4 and then 5 heads, was now empty. The seats appeared vacant, no sign of movement or life inside the speeding vehicle. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead, my grip on the steering wheel tightening as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. The Grand Am swerved erratically, taking turns at breakneck speeds. I matched its movements, the patrol car hugging the curves of the road with precision. The thrill of the chase was now tinged with a growing sense of dread. How was the car moving without a driver? Where had the girls gone? We hit a straight stretch of road, the blacktop stretching out ahead like an endless ribbon. The Grand Am surged forward, its speed increasing. I pushed my patrol car to its limits, the needle on the speedometer edging dangerously close to the red line. The landscape outside the window was a dark blur, the only illumination coming from my headlights and the distant glow of the Grand Am's taillights. Despite the high speeds, I could see clearly into the interior of the Grand Am. It was undeniably empty. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Something was terribly wrong. The car, now a ghostly apparition on the road, seemed to be leading me somewhere. But where? Cora's voice crackled over the radio, finally breaking through the static. She was frantic, her words barely making sense. She mentioned an incident with the license plate 11 years ago. As I processed her words, the Grand Am slowed and pulled over. I exited my car, gun drawn, and approached. The inside was drenched in blood, but there were no occupants. It felt like my whole body froze along with the air and the time around me. An owl in a tree above brought me back to reality. As I turned back to my patrol car to call for backup, a sudden blow struck me from behind. Everything went black. Waking up in the hospital the next day, I tried to piece together what happened. I had been found unconscious by the side of the road, my cruiser's lights still flashing. There was no trace of a car in front of mine. When questioned about my radio calls with Cora, not wanting to sound crazy, I stated that I must have given her the wrong license plate. When asked about being knocked out, luckily, I remember hearing one of my deputies talking about how my flashlight was next to my hand, batteries dead. I tried to come up with some story about hitting my head on the trunk when looking for fresh batteries. Yesterday, Cora came to visit me and told me of the 4 girls' disappearance. She mentioned an incident with the license plate info I'd relayed to her from 11 years prior, a night when she had been working dispatch. A group of girls had gone missing, their car found covered in blood. The names Jessica Hanley, Emily Carter, Sarah Donnelly, and Rachel Smith. They were on their way back from a concert. It was late, and they got a flat tire right around where I first saw the red Grand Am. A witness had seen them pulled over and a man stopped to help. They described him as tall, wearing a baseball cap and a flannel shirt. He seemed like a good Samaritan, the witness had stated. The image sent a chill down my spine. The witness said he saw the man helping them change the tire. but that was the last anyone saw of them. The next morning, their car was found abandoned on the side of the road. The inside was soaked in blood. The seats, the floor, even the ceiling. But the girls, they were never found. Should I have told Cora the truth, or anyone for that matter? No. One of the things I've learned quickly about moving out of the big city life and into the small town environment, you keep yourself to yourself. When I get out of here in a day or two, I'll find that dirt road and go back to that barn.